just feel like I'm gonna make lyrics for that song. Welcome to Southstar Classroom, episode 210. I am one of your hosts, Jubilee. We got David, Omar, and the Doc. How is everyone doing today? I'm throwing it to Omar Yanard.
You know, how am I doing? I'm doing real well because we've had Bill Conrad now joining us even before the show started for some commentary, which just made my day. Seeing the four of you makes me very happy. But I just also want to just point out that much like the Law and Order song, which Ted famously provided some lyrics for the movie Ted, and then I don't know if y'all saw that like crew that did the dance to the Law and Order song. Jubilee, you are a singer, you are a songwriter, you are the light at the end of my tunnel. I want you for the next show to think of some lyrics for the South Star Classroom intro. That is how I'm doing today. How are you doing?
I mean, I might take you up on that.
Gotta do it.
Let's circle back to that because now you got my brain going. It's like, is it going to be?
Mhm.
Is it going to be new age? Am I going to be screaming, singing softly? This is a good
Oh,
question. I'm think about it. David Castillo, how are you doing?
Hey, everybody. I'm doing well. Looking forward to the topic. Definitely has struck a nerve with me as well. So we'll get into that. But before we start, I was just outside and like the weather's beautiful but I had to stop and think thinking about the people of Jamaica right now with this crazy hurricane. I've seen some of the videos coming in and it's like, I mean, it's already, I mean, especially many of the areas in Jamaica are, underdeveloped in terms of infrastructure, just getting pounded by this hurricane. So just thinking about the people of Jamaica.
Absolutely. Those are my people. We've been watching it all week. My mom has been, putting it in the family chat, just telling us, keeping us abreast. I do have family there. They have, taped down their roofs and secured in all kinds of ways. So we're just praying that they make it through safely. So yeah, Doc, what's going on?
Well, since you brought the serious part in there, I gotta definitely check into my accountant and friend Shauna K. She's from Jamaica and her team is there. I think during the season she's home in Atlanta, but she goes back pretty frequently. So make sure I check in on her. And then just me, man, we are actually applying our young people to AERA ready. And so I think I told you all about that work we were doing at Lodestar, and these 22 young people are finding out their levels of proficiency, and then they're tasked with teaching the rest of their school, and they got a proposal into their principal. So hopefully we get accepted. The deadline is very soon. So I'm doing that before the show, after the show, up through midnight. But I'm excited for the episode. I'm excited for the topic, and I hope we don't start cooking at 45 minutes into the hour.
Well, listen, let's start cooking now. So we know grades can.
Now, somebody who is this over here? Like this person is about to get blocked. They said they saw me at a furry convention. I don't know who this person is.
that was a furry convention.
I look like one of the island boys.
Oh no, lemon soda, Fizzo, you might have to go.
I will. There's a block button in the straw.
I love you, Charles. They love you. They confess.
I don't know who this is. So
it's an unsecret admirer because this ain't secret no more.
Well, I will be blocking. Continue.
You says you so.
we got Bill's got competition in the comment section this week.
Please add comments about the topic today. We thank you so much. Yes. We love Charles. He's so young. We know he's so handsome and brilliant. But
is a furry telling me that I'm fine? I'm so.
I believe that is what is happening right now, man. This has just gotten better.
This is harassment.
Lemon soda fizz. At least share the episode a few times, and hopefully, it's love. Okay, anyhow.
Continue.
All right, so listen. Let's get to today's topic.
About to love blocking their ass. Continue.
Okay. All right. So we are diving into a topic today. Students, teachers, parents all have opinions on it. Okay, it's grades. Making the grades. what do our grades really measure? We all know grades can open doors to opportunities, scholarships, and success. Well, hopefully, but what do our grades really measure? Okay, do they reflect what students truly know, what they can do, or are they sometimes more about behavior, effort, compliance, relationship? Okay, so in this episode, we're exploring how grading systems reflect or fail to reflect student learning, student mastery, and equity across real equity, because we talked about that. We ain't talking about that fake equity. We're talking about real equity across K through 12 and higher ed. And we'll also talk about grades being used as behavioral tools, the impact of non-academic factors, equity concerns for Black and Brown, our children and underserved students, grade inflation, and what a fair and mastery-based grading system could really look like. And I have to say that the impetus for this show was my beloved son, right? We relocated to Maryland. You guys have heard me talk about this before. In New York, we were having a great old time because we were talking about standards-based learning and mastery and proficiency and progress and all the things and these metrics that just made sense, right? The student starts here. We need to get them here. And here are all of the milestones that you can do, right? The instructional pieces you can implement to make sure they get there by the end of the year. It's very clear what students will know, understand, and be able to do by the end of this course. And then we came on down to Maryland and I didn't understand, right? And so this is what has inspired me to have this conversation of having to go up to schools and ask teachers really, well, it's really easy questions, but I guess it's hard when the system does not have the answers yet or are not familiar with these terms that I am using, or that it is not a system-wide expectation. And so we also have a special guest here today, and that is my son, Sydney Mosley, who at some point, you can wave hello. We're live.
I want to talk to him. I want to meet him. What's up, Sydney? How you doing, man?
What up?
Can I ask him a question, Jew?
You may, yes, please feel free.
Young man, how old are you?
Me, I'm 16.
You are 16. I wanted to just hear that because I need you to do a real solid favor for Mr. Cole. Can you please get a battery and get a chair and change the damn battery in the fire alarm? Okay, the fire alarm just keeps going off. We are
sleeping with that thing on.
We are Black. Okay, listen. There is a running joke that Black people don't change their smoke detector batteries. Your mom is a stereotype right now. She's setting us back.
Nah, I don't even know it.
She gonna show you. Y'all are gonna. I will stay on after this damn show, and we will YouTube it together. We will change.
I know how to do
this.
that.
That's all I want to know. You a superstar, brother. Jubilee is back to you. Young man, I just hope that I don't hear this next episode. That's all. Put it on you, because she's not changing it.
I tried. I went. I can't find it. They all work.
I will send you $20 through your mama if you change this thing later today.
I got you.
You see the motivation?
Yeah.
Who knows youth work, baby? Let's go. Continue. What is it? Let's do the show, Miss Ransom.
Okay. So do you have any opening thoughts about grading and your experience with grading and the grades that you receive, the grades that you earn as a student before we get to our no initial thoughts? All right. So let's jump into it. Okay. Initial thoughts, right? I framed it. What initial thoughts, open thoughts about grading? I know I'll throw it to you, David, since you said that it's poking you. So, and then I'll jump into our first question. Initial thoughts, David, what you got?
I would say, so my son is 15. He's in the 10th grade, and we have access to the online, grading platform. I think most schools have that now. And, part of helping him to advocate for himself, and then for me as a parent to advocate for him, is doing the things that you said that you have to do, Jubilee, is like talking with teachers and asking them about their grading systems, asking them about, why do they weigh this much and this not that much, clarification around, assignments that maybe don't have a grade, and like 3 weeks later, something is graded, 3 weeks after the fact, it manipulates the grade. You've lost the opportunity to provide feedback. And then just like, like looking at some of the graded work and it's all over the place, and it's a huge mess. And it's hard to advocate for your student because there are so many variables involved. You're like, all you can say is like, do your work, do it to the best of your ability. I mean, like, what else can you do? It's incredibly, incredibly frustrating. And I will say, and then I'll pass the baton, is I wonder how much time teachers get in like professional settings to actually learn about grading and to do like training around grading. It kind of feels like they just like, everybody knows how to grade. There's your grade book, log in, but not giving them the tools to be able to do it effectively, especially new teachers.
Yep. Thank you for that. Omar, initial thoughts?
Yeah, I got so many. So I have she just turned 15, on October 14th. So my 15-year-old niece, who's a freshman in high school, who is now at a comprehensive, humongous high school in El Paso, like 2,000, about 2,000 kids. And she was at this little Christian middle school, an elementary school, basically from like kinder until 8th grade, and then made that jump. We talked a lot about grades simply because what we found from the middle school is that there was a lot of like grade inflation. This is a private school, right? Parents are front and center of this work. It's an affluent private school. And we were always she was extremely proud of her grades, still is, but we were very cautious about, is this real or is this not? Like, where's the inflation? Like, your friends have highly inflated grades because their parents are getting involved. And are those grades deserving? And what we saw with her transition to high school, where she's taking AP classes and what's called UT on-ramps, which is essentially like college credit for a high school class, is that she's still doing exceptionally well and still doing very high level work. But then we saw two things. One, her friends who are getting grade inflation were getting into these difficult classes thinking like, well, I had these grades, I can totally do them, and then just getting destroyed because the grades were not a reflection whatsoever of their proficiency. And foreshadowing, this is exactly where I'm going to take this conversation moving forward about proficiency. And then when Alea got into her world geography class or pre-AP world geography class, the teacher was using grades as a mechanism to filter kids out. So like the median grade was like a 17. And like she, quote, had to curve things. And this teacher is doing this on purpose to weed out the kids who are, quote, not taking this class seriously. And I'm like, okay, not cool. That sounds young and naive. We found out this teacher's on the younger side, right, David? Like this Jubilee doc, like this resonates with like young teacher vibes where like, oh, you're making some interesting like mistakes that young teachers make. That's not in the better interest of getting kids to understand what is really their acumen, their level, their understanding. And then ultimately it's used as and I'm just being very surface level right now, as a punitive measure. And then I hate it when teachers think like, oh, I'm going to give you a bad grade and that's going to get you to think twice about your work in this class. That may work for 10% of the population, but we all know the 90%, and especially our 90%, right? Like our young Latino and Black kids, they're like, whatever, man, give me the 0. I don't give a shit. Like, how is that going to make me in any way, shape, or form motivated to learn this? So yeah. I think grades are, for the most part, bullshit. I think they're bullshit. I think that they need to be switched completely to proficiency, which is based on not just a rubric, but standards, and simply saying, okay, just like the state tests or just like a rubric, what is your true level of acumen? And how does this metric give you a gauge of where you're at and where you need to go next? Because what the difference between an 87 and 83?
Absolutely.
I don't know. Like, can someone tell me the difference between a 76 and an 81, other than one's a B and one's a C? I can't tell you what that student knows or doesn't know, and the student doesn't know either. And
That
that
part.
shit is not all right.
Yep. So, Charles, what you got? And then I'm going to throw it to
I
Sid.
probably don't have. I mean, if you want me to take a different angle, I mean, but you know, I think they
Okay.
answered the question. But yeah,
Okay. Well,
This makes me think before you go on. I think this is fitting. I had a teacher working for me years ago. It's probably like 20 years ago when I was principal at Unity High School, and he had this interesting system where, like, he would teach. He would give homework, he would give classwork, and he had this system where, as he moved through the curriculum, that he had these assessments that were available to students to take whenever they felt like they were ready. So most of them took them on time. Some of them took them ahead of time. Some of them took them, after the fact because they weren't ready, and they could keep retaking them until they achieved that level of proficiency on that assessment, and then they would move on to the next. This is all pencil and paper, and so that's proficiency, right? So it's like you're going to be graded for your homework and classwork, but really you're going to demonstrate your learning through taking and passing these series of assessments. And he had 6 different versions of each one, so students couldn't cheat. It was all done in class. So it was like a very old school method of doing proficiency based grading without any technology.
Indeed. Thank you for that. So question 1 is around grading as a behavioral tool, right? Which, whether or not we like it, it's a thing, right? So when and why do educators use grades to teach behavior? And what are the unintended consequences for students' academic growth? And I'm throwing that to Sid so he can, share a little bit of his experience as it relates to this question in his world. So you can scoot that way.
Hey guys.
I see it.
What up? What up?
What's going
Fire
on?
alarm, Sid.
So towards beginning of school last year, I was in 10th grade, and so I had this teacher, and this teacher, oh my Lord, she was deplorable. And, she used to have these different kinds of assessments and stuff like that in class and stuff like that. And there's a strict rule in our county about how you're supposed to take care of grades and stuff like that, when we're supposed to do it, and how it's supposed to be done. And I'm in a student government association, so we have to do a lot of field trips, stuff like that. And I always used to do work after. And then she started coming with this crazy policy. She was like, if you're not here, and even if it's excuse absence, you can't do the work. She was like, I don't care what they say. She was like, I don't care if you go to the superintendent. I don't care if you go to the principal. She was like, I'm still going to argue. I'm going to tell you can't do the work. And it created almost a vortex in the classroom. She was just sucking everything with just negative energy. And I ended up towards the end of the year, and I had an E in that class twice. And
They don't know what that is.
Oh, an E is the lowest possible grade. It's like an F. So I had an E in that class twice. And my mom, she eventually got me out the class and stuff like that. But it was
Third grade assignment.
yeah, and and I was an honors English class, and we used to for warm-ups, we used to do correcting English. So we used to have sentences Barry went to the farm with his friends, and we used to have to replace it. Mind you, I'm in the 10th grade at this point, and and if you messed up let's say you didn't do one, it would drop your grade from 100 to 60. She used to overly inflate the assessment grades, so it'd be absolutely crazy. But then towards the end, after I got out that class, my mom went through all that with the principal and administration. They all started looking at me differently, because it was you're not supposed to be able to do what you do to get out this class. And my friends, and most of these friends, most of these people are people I've been with since 7th grade. So I went to middle school, and they were Sid, how'd you get out the class? How'd you do this? I was thank God for my mom. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have got out the class. But those are the same students. They ended up getting E's in the class too, so they all failed. It was like probably 20 E's in the class. Even like when I go back to like taking a test last year, and we took a test that, and it was on a book. And you know, we're studying the book and stuff like that, and everybody's ready for the test. We take the test. The highest grade on the test was a 65. And she was like, oh man, I need to study and stuff like that. But it's like she never taught the content. It was more of a go home and study type of thing. And I thought to myself, I'm like, the person that I know, I mean, no shade to him or anything like that, but he's not the most intellectual person I know. And he got a 65 on the test. And he got the highest grade in the class. I think I got like a 12 on the test. And it was like questions, what did Jerron do on the second page of the book at this time? It was absolutely crazy. What did he do at this time, at this point in the book? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm over here trying to remember, you know, what's happened and stuff like that. I couldn't remember. So I'm like, she's going to put this question on the test. And then she started like blackmailing me in class, stuff like that. You know, just like throwing these like microaggressions at me. Like,
Sick blackmailing?
I was gonna say, how'd she blackmail you? What do you mean?
Yeah, so like she would be like, if you like, cause like during class, like, okay, so like I didn't tell you this, but like in the beginning of the school year, like the first day ever, we were like all in our seats. It was first day of school. And I'm over here we're taking a test, I think. And she comes over and she's like, are you on your phone? I'm like, does it look like I have a phone here? I'm like, ma'am, I don't have anything on my desk. And you can clearly see that from like, because our desks are all facing the same, like it's like one half of the class is like, it's like split. So I'm like, ma'am, you can clearly see I'm not doing anything. I'm not committing any wrongdoing. And I'm like, come on, like, can we be serious? Like, you know, I'm not doing anything. And then she just goes off on a tangent. And I'm just like, ma'am, I'm trying to be as respectful as possible. But she thought I was being disrespectful because I'm addressing her and I'm explaining to her, like, I'm not doing any wrongdoing. And she wasn't used to that. So then it got to a point in the class where it's like, I would do like, I just started doing like small remarks. She'd be like, I'll tell your mom and I'll tell the principal. And just like, I'm just like, all right.
Is that the blackmail?
Yeah, I was kind of scared. So I was just like, I don't really like my mom getting called, especially like in the middle of class. Everybody like, ooh, Sydney. Yeah, I don't like that. But then, so like towards the end of the year, once I got out of the class, probably got the class like March, May, my GPA went right back up. And then my friends were telling me, she was like, yeah, she was speaking about me in the class while I wasn't there. She was like, yeah, I'm glad he's gone and stuff like that.
Like talking shit.
Jeez, man.
So sad.
What the hell is wrong with this person, dude?
You have a terrible teacher, bro.
Talking shit.
I know there are two sides to every story. You just have a horrible teacher from what we're hearing, though.
Yeah, I don't think we need to hear the other side.
She's
Yeah. All right. Well, let's analyze this. Well, let's.
Wow.
Let's
Thank you for putting that. Thank you for putting that out there.
Yeah, man. Thanks, dude.
Yeah. I mean, so it's a few things. One, this is not even teaching. This is not even it's not even in the conversation around proficiency and things like that, because this person's not teaching. They're just assigning like proxy things or like packets or whatever, make it arbitrary. And I do have a saying, if 2 or 3 students fail, cool, let's work with the student. Let's figure that out. If your whole class fails, we got to look at you. Like something's not resonating. And you, luckily for you, you have an educator mother, and you see how difficult it even is for you and for her. So I'm extrapolating that out to everybody else that's watching. Sometimes you just got a teacher that's trash. So part of what we're doing a similar thing with students that are your age, and what and our principals are on our side. So the principal has told the students in our fellowship, if you don't get your grade, if you don't get your proficiency score in 2 weeks from now in a plan, then you need to come tell me, because that leadership can now hold them accountable. I have different takeaways from your story. What I do think, if you had a sane teacher, what I do think is, on top of getting your grades up and things like that, you, not your mom, she should do it too, but you are at the age where you can take a lot of ownership over things. You have agency. You can go and say, hey, thank you for this A or this B or E or whatever grade. It's weird. E's used to mean good things when I was in elementary school, but I don't want to get lost. But you say, thank you for this grade. Can you tell me if I'm proficient or not? Did I master? Am I a proficiency? Am I approaching? Did I master this stuff? And if you're not at proficiency or you're not at mastery, then you should say, what do I need to do to get there? How do I do that? And if you don't get a response, then you should be able to have a conversation. Luckily, you have a mother that speaks education. You have, good principals tend to like to hear this stuff. But I'm going to land my plane because it's so much you said that I can go on forever. But I do think that Jubilee or you should take the work samples, the actual work that's being given out to the principal. I mean, I would just be like, this is the type of work that they're given, and it's just lack of quality. And if that principal doesn't do what they need to, I don't know if this is a district school, a charter school, or whatever, but whoever is the ombuds person, that's usually in districts, is the person that handles complaints. Charter schools tend to have a version of it, whether they have that name or not, but there's somebody that does some type of quality control. I would elevate that on and on, because what you did and said that people that's flying over people's heads is this type of terrible ass teaching and practices gets to happen when there's black and brown kids in the classroom.
Indeed.
It's not questioned.
Yeah.
Do that shit at a lily white school and see what happens.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
It looks like our troll is back. In the
I know.
comments,
I'm trying to block this person.
But I think what I'm hearing.
They really love Charles.
I gotta turn off the comments. They're messing with everybody.
No,
Okay.
no.
No, you're gonna get somebody cussed out and choked. I don't know these people.
Anyhow.
I don't play these games.
I
Continue.
would say
What
it
the
sounds like
fuck?
your teacher definitely has some serious control issues, and none of that has anything to do with you. So like with the principal hat on, I would say in any school I've ever worked in, like things that principals can do to support teachers is, all the grades are like electronic. So you have a grade book. The principal has access to all the grades. We used to run grade audits. So I'm going to run Omar's a teacher, Charles is a teacher, Jubilee's a teacher. When we get like halfway through the quarter, I'm going to run a grade audit, and we're going to look at your average grade for your class, right? Are you, and that teacher would get flagged, right? Because like we could see like most of her grades are like, below a 60 or 70%. That's going to flag. What would also flag is if a teacher came back with like, why are all your kids getting A's and B's? Like that's also abnormal, right? So we have grade inflation and then grade deflation. But both of them require like an intervention from administration. So an administrator at your school, should have stepped in to have a conversation about grading practices, and all these things. These things it's not rocket science. Like it's easy to run a report in the information system to look at what's happening with grades in any school district. And I just don't think enough schools do that. So that's like a check and balance for students. The other thing is if you're a teacher, one thing, and Charles talked about this earlier, like, and I was a teacher, I gave assessments in math, and I was like, oh, that was a really like crappy assessment. I'm going to go back to the drawing board, and it's not going to get graded for anybody because I poorly planned this math test for Algebra 2. And I clearly didn't either teach all the material or the assessment really wasn't based on what I taught. And so that's unfair to students. So I'm going to just erase that from the grade book because I don't want to penalize students. But I agree with you. I mean, I think, grading is often used as a weapon, against children. And it's totally unacceptable.
Yeah. And to add, thank you for that. So like two things, because I had an experience of this district when I didn't work for the district. And of course I had a different experience when I started to. And I hate that, right? Because my daddy taught me, you treat the janitor just as you would treat the CEO, right? So I don't need preferential treatment, right? What I need is fair treatment, right? And responsiveness, and I demand that as a parent, and I don't need to have a title, right? But having a title, right, and working for the district is what ended up being the lever that ended up getting my child out of the class, right? And it shouldn't have had to be, because right? And so when Charles talked about the you know, not the autonomy, you were talking about the advocacy, right? Self-advocacy, right? The student reach out. So that's what I teach my sons, right? What pisses me off as a parent is when that shit don't work, right? Like I'm trying to empower my sons. Hey, you got the teacher's email addresses, you got your syllabus, like don't cut mommy. No, they been stopped doing that years ago. No, the first thing, and they know the first thing is, did you email your teacher? Did you communicate? Did you ask to meet with them during office hours? Did you ask to speak to them after class? Did you go to them during your lunch? Don't come to me and tell me that your grades is looking crazy and you didn't take the first step to communicate, right? So imagine that the emails are going out, no response, right? You can say what you want. And it's not just this teacher. This teacher's the worst example I have, but there are other examples. They're just not as bad, right? But the unresponsiveness to students that are advocating for themselves, the unresponsiveness to parents that are advocating for their children, right? And then that the assignment, that one of the assignments that he was talking about was a third grade assignment, right? And so yes, I speak educatees, but I'm reading this, I'm like, why is this even a grade? Like, this is correcting, Sally had a little lamb, his fleece was white as snow. Why are you giving this in an honors class in 10th grade, right? Like, why? But that goes to my last point, which is this high level of autonomy that some teachers have, depending on the systems that they're working in, where nobody is auditing and nobody is looking at what you're grading, because you have the right to put whatever you want in that grade book, right? And if I like David in my class, and maybe David's he's giving 80, but I'm giving him a 95 because David sits in the front of the class and he participates a lot, so I'm giving him a higher grade, right? But Sydney, who told me I'm not doing no wrongdoing, I don't have a phone. No, he talked back to me. He's disrespectful. So he gonna get a 65, even though he's one of my highest performing students, you know? So that level of variance. But other thoughts before I go to question 2. Omar, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add is that, like, we often think that teachers are like these, sadly, like we want to think that they are these kind of better than us versions of ourselves, right? Like, this is a professional, this is someone who is supposed to care about me. We have these assumptions about what teachers should be. And then we come to, sadly, a stern reality, young man, where like we find out that these teachers are just like anybody else. And sadly, what happens is that they've got ego, and they're using ego and power against kids, which I find to be the most deplorable thing that you could do on the planet.
That's crazy, man. It has real world, like real life implications.
Yes, deep ones, because children are malleable. Like, look, your brain's still developing until you're 25, and even then it's still developing to a certain extent, but the malleability is a huge deal. And then all of a sudden, someone, out of their own insecurity, and that's what really pisses me off, it's like, you're so weak and you're so powerless that you have to exert power on kids in your classroom, like some kind of effed up fiefdom in like the medieval years, like in medieval times and shit, like Black Knight versus Green Knight shit. I get sad because people are people, but I just don't think those people should exist in the education realm. Don't.
Exactly. Yep.
So
Take your ass to finance for that bullshit.
What I meant in terms of like real world, real life implications is we put, you know, a lot of weight into, so where do grades end up? They end up on a transcript, right?
Mhm,
The transcript is what follows the student as they go to apply for colleges, for internships, for, in some cases, jobs, right? It becomes part of like your resume. And it's like the information and the data in the transcript is, you know, is oftentimes so inaccurate, like, because people don't focus on good grading practices. But once it ends up on your transcript, it's kind of like sealed, you know, and then you just have to like, that's what you got to work with.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, those teachers have moved on, and now you're trying to go out and get a job or apply for a college or an internship. and having to like say, well, why did you get a D in this English class? You're like, oh man, here we go. You know,
Yeah.
I just feel like that's what really gets my blood boiling around this issue, because, and I agree. I think, you know, young people should have to demonstrate that they've done everything. I do with my son. I'm like, well, what have you done in this situation? Have you done X, Y, and Z? You've done all these things. Okay, now the rest is up to the adults. You know, so yeah.
Well,
Yeah, and I think that's I mean, even with that, I think you did what you were supposed to do. I think Jube, I don't know, I can assume you might have showed that work to the principal or raised it up, or it should be reported to somebody, right? It's like, or if we're in that type of remedial class, then I think we all should know something needs to click and vibe. But again, that doesn't mean stop advocating for yourself, young man. Like, it's just part of the process. Sometimes that don't get you there. All right, cool. Then you take it to your mom, and then if it don't work for her, then she has to elevate it. Like, there's a process. I think parents that are watching this, document all that stuff, like everything. I train in my Agentic Black Parent book. We teach them, keep every email, even when you're on the phone, send a follow-up email after the call. Hey, I appreciated the call. Here's what we talked about, and we agreed to do X, Y, and Z by whatever date. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Because now you need that stuff when you need to report this stuff, when you need to say, I don't think this teacher is adequate. I don't think this teacher actually cares about these kids. I don't think this teacher knows how to teach. And then you have examples of their work, and they get to bring, you know, if they were smart, they wouldn't let you bring that home. But this is why they do it. This is the arrogance of it. To parents listening, Jubilee knows this. They are arrogant about it and sloppy because they don't expect parents that look like Jubilee or that look like David to do anything about it. Or if they do something about it, they were expecting them to come up there and yell and be ghetto and get kicked out, as opposed to, hey, here's a binder. Here go this binder of all the crap that this person gave. And I think, I mean, I'm glad we're having this conversation. I think the other conversation is still an important one about this grade inflation, getting the right stuff. But parents, let this be a sign to you. Like, if this is on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we kind of talking in this, you know, we trying to, you at the basic, we need some security, food type situation. I don't want to have a self-actualization conversation. You might be in a school that's trash like this. They are very, very frequent. They happen. And at that point, then you need to organize. If you got a pastor or an imam or somebody, you start to invite people into those spaces. You call her and write and ask for not necessarily an IEP but maybe a 504 to be like, yo, I need to understand something. And the reason why I say that is because it now makes an official conversation have to happen with other officials there. And we can go on the record. You don't have to sign anything, but when you request one of those in writing, they're required by law to respond. See, a lot of this stuff, they just expect you not knowing how to get what you need, because the next thing is going to like a news station. And no school wants that.
Exactly. Oh, thank you for that. So a couple things. Shout out to mommy. Mommy's on here. My sister's on here. They're happy to see Sid in the virtual building.
But do you know this Rich Prince person? Because I'm over here blocking everybody. So
no, I do not know.
Gotcha.
Don't know. But I want to say, right, and I don't think my sister will mind me saying this. So my brown skin girl, that's my niece. Her name is Thunder. She's in kindergarten this year. She's a COVID baby. So, you know, they started kindergarten this year. And, you know, she was sharing with me a grading issue with my 5-year-old niece. And this teacher went putting X's all down her paper, right? When they're just learning to hold manipulatives and try to make number sense, you know? So like this grading conversation goes all
in kindergarten?
In kindergarten.
Let's just go and like, let's blow out and destroy the flame of curiosity and learning early on.
That part.
Super early.
That part. So it's just like we really need to understand what is the philosophy around grading. What is it for, and when is it necessary? Do you need it for a 5-year-old who's trying to figure out how to count like up to 5 and 10, and like why do you need? And you need a red X. Like we need anyway. So she had a meeting with the teacher. Hopefully it'll be ameliorated. But like this topic, it grinds my gears a lot, because I also think that it could be a demotivator. When grading is not used appropriately, literally it could be like, I am not going to that class. I don't want to go to that teacher. This teacher doesn't think I'm brilliant. This teacher doesn't believe in me. This is a waste of time. Like it can turn into a place where kids are like, yo, I don't care about school. I don't want to come. Like grading has that level of, influence, I think. But Sid had one more thing to say before he goes, and then I'll.
Is this another? Is Bell Ray? That's somebody in your family.
That's my sister.
Look just like you. So yeah, I don't know who's the big sister or not, but we was like, wait, is Jubilee commenting on her own shit? But okay.
No, oh my God, yes, that is my baby sister. Yes, I have 2 younger sisters. This is one of them. This is Bell Ray. Yes. With my COVID baby brown skin girl niece Thunder, who is phenomenal.
You don't have to put all her business out there like that. Continue, please.
Are you trying to shut me up as I'm shouting out my siblings?
You ain't have to talk about it, COVID, baby. Like, Miss Bell Ray, thank you for being here. We appreciate you.
We don't mind me.
Right?
You don't want me to say.
We got your back. We do this with Mama too. We gotta protect Mama from Jubilee. We gotta protect the family from Jew. We got you, young man. The floor is yours, and I hope that damn smoke detectors get on your nerves too.
Nah, if you could send the funds through, I'll get it done.
He wants a deposit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You shouldn't have look. If you got that capability, you shouldn't be having no issues with your teachers right now.
Okay, what's your comment before I move to the next question?
Like going back to the grades and beginning stuff. I feel like students come in with a lot of different idiosyncrasies. Like
come up to the mic a little bit more, sir.
I think students come in with a lot of different idiosyncrasies as they're coming to school. So it's like you have different backgrounds, different ethnics, and even me coming right now. I don't know if you guys can see this. I just got a grade report, and this is what it says. I got it 100, but it's a late grade, so it's -50. But so here's the problem: the teacher didn't tell us we had to take a picture of it and put it on Canvas. So the work was sitting in my bag for a month. So a couple of days ago, I go and I take a picture of it in Canvas, and I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely about to get a good grade. I got a 50, and it's 10 assignments that happened with because I wasn't in the knowing. So even taking that structure back and thinking about how that can affect me, because I was completely demoralized my sophomore year last year with my grades. I was just because I used to have straight A's all the time before that, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna continue to do it. As soon as I saw 1 E, my thoughts were just oh my Lord, there's no way. I was completely just angry, and I was like, there's no way for me to come back from this. Especially with that one teacher as a class, talking about me while I'm not in class. You should talk about me even when I was still in a class. When I wasn't in a class, I was just geez. I was like,
yeah, bro, you just go to a ghetto ass school. They exist. Schools is ghetto.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'll take us to our next question, right? But I'm jumping. I'm going to grade inflation next, but
we should have a real episode about when you were trapped in a ghetto ass school. That's what we should really do, because that's
what you do.
Right, you have to fight for your life, right?
This is one I know. Ridiculous. David, I know Omar, I know other people. This is one where if they get to be the turnaround leader of that school or that area, it's oh yeah, give me all that information. We about to ask you what you do, and you about to be gone in a week. So
yep,
yeah.
Straight up.
We have a graduate from our school. Her name is Abby Phillips. She works for CNN, and she went to my school. And I saw her at an event because I do photography and I take pictures. And she graduated. She went to
closer to the mic, brother. We got you closer to the mic.
Yeah, a lady named Abby Phillips. She works at CNN, and so she went to my school. She's a graduate alumni. We saw her a couple weeks ago at her event in DC. In Annapolis, and she was talking about the same the same problems are still happening after years later, and it's crazy. And the worst part about it is we're about to go to our next subject, grade inflation. I kid you not, there are 16 people, maybe more, that I know right now that have all A's right now, and they haven't taken a second to do one of their assignments, especially
wow.
And it's crazy. The thing is, one of my class, I have this one teacher. He teaches AP World. There's 15 E's in that class, and to put out there in perspective, there's 30 kids in the class. So that means you're probably sitting next to a person that's failing, and I'm just that's actually crazy. And the work and I feel in this case, besides the other teacher, it's not his fault. that we're really like, it's really not his fault. Like he gives us the work, he explains it to us, but it's people that are so used to doing AI assignments that when he gives us paperwork inside and you got to sit down, you got to write it, and he's watching us, you can't do our phone. Like one assignment, like he has us do is like a self-write. You just got to write for 10 minutes, just write about anything. And we started like last week, our prompt was now I know. So like, what do you know now? Like, and it could be anything. People were really just sitting in class on an AI. They put prompt, now I know. They copy the assignment into AI. And it's like, I'm like, you have no cognitive ability to think for yourself?
Yeah, AI was like, what are you asking me?
No, I mean they
Shut
didn't
down
have the cognitive
ChatGPT.
ability to think for themselves before ChatGPT, man. Like there's a whole scene in Good Will Hunting about that.
Well, thank you that was great. It was
He
great
was
to have,
great. He was awesome. I need him to.
yeah,
I need him
it was-
to fix that.
man.
Smoke.
We get to hear directly. We get to hear directly from the source. You know,
Yep.
I love
Yes,
it.
absolutely.
Love it.
But I appreciate that. And Omar, I want to. Hopefully, I didn't cut you off. I'll be quick though.
Nope.
I appreciate that though, because when we give case studies, you know, it's somewhat manicured, right, to kind of get to the point. But like again, it's just a ghetto ass school. It's just a school with very low expectations. I'm gonna tell you what a ghetto ass school is. It's a school with very low expectations. It's a school where people do get rewarded. They get behavior rewards through grades. Basically, it's saying y'all are so crazy and doing so much shit that the kids that don't give me a hard time, I'm passing them. And these other ones, we don't get them up out of here. I'm telling you how this goes. I remember working at the district, David. I'm gonna say players that you gonna know, and then you know, right before we had to do a count to see, you know, schools and who's graduating and all that stuff or whatever. It was one of these general counts we do. We had a principal for one of our red schools. I'm not gonna say the school's name, but one of our last black standing high schools, and this is years ago. But that just had a list of kids, and they were just requesting for those kids to be gone. So their numbers look better, like just gone, like they gotta go, like on some wild stuff. So again, Jube, I appreciate it because this is how it ain't always a clean example. Like sometimes you get stuff like this, but this is where you got to start riding on this principle. Like this is,
I promise you. And let me tell you something. When this all came up, it was like, let him try it out another quarter, you know. And I'm like, nah, I know a bad teacher when I see one. I'm always a teacher at heart. No matter how high I go in leadership, I'm always a teacher at heart. I'm telling you, this is a bad teacher. Write it out another quarter. You know, wrote it out another quarter. The grade just kept sinking and sinking and sinking. It got worse and worse to third grade assignments in 10th grade, you know. So there's a whole bunch of stuff mixed up in there. So anyway, all right. So let's jump to grade inflation. I'm jumping, right? How does students' grades they haven't earned, and this came up in one of our previous shows, affect their learning, affect their motivation and preparedness for college or the workforce? And what can schools do to maintain standards while still supporting students? And I will say, today I had a meeting with another one of Sid's teachers, right? And I think one of the other issues here is variance, right? I in my class say that this is what an A looks like. Great. We go to David's class. He has a different, he has different identifiers for what an A looks like. Go to Charles's class. Charles has a different picture of what an A looks like. Go to Omar's class. Omar has a different vision of what an A looks like. Like we haven't normed what the hell like an A looks like, right? So that's one of the things that I've learned, you know, down here. It's like they have a level of autonomy to determine what that looks like in their class, which makes it really hard to like to monitor and to give feedback around, because you're saying that this is A work when this looks like failing work to me, but you're saying this is an A, right? And so anyway, so today I met with Sid's teacher, and I realized variance, right? She has the autonomy to say, I'm not going to tell you what the assignments are. You need to go look in Canvas. You need to update your assignments. I don't accept late work. If you hand it in late, you're going to lose 50 points, and that's the end of the story. I'm not advocating at that point, because I was like, Sid, she moves like a college professor. You have the responsibility to learn all of your teachers, the way they move, and act accordingly, right? Unless it's, you know, unethical or immoral. This is a college professor here. Doc, you need to move like how she moves. You're responsible. She said, check it every day. Check it every day. She don't accept late work. Don't put in late work. if you do all that and you still fail or have an issue, then comes the advocacy and all of that. But you need to do your part first. So, okay. So inflation, right? What inflation. Let's talk about it, right? Giving student grades they haven't earned.
I got a real answer for you, but really, because I have to interject when Doc was talking about I've seen a ghetto ass school or those schools, man. I thought he was gonna just jump into lean on me. He's like, what are
I
the
was thinking about the
indicators
whole
you
time.
got?
I'm thinking about
you
it the
got
whole
Morgan
time.
Freeman
Really?
on a megaphone yelling
He
at
likes doing
Smalls.
to keep the drug dealers out. Yeah, yes.
I love that.
Cold in,
Yeah,
cold
and when he
in.
lined up
I
everyone in
watched
the
that again.
auditorium, and he's like, "These people have taken away from your learning for too long. You are out of here."
I know we're not supposed to like that movie as like the
I
good
love
new
that movie.
educators. I love that movie.
I
I
love
love
that
that movie forever.
Forever.
Yep.
It does no wrong. Never.
But I do have an answer, and I've got a nuanced answer because we're running out of time. So one of the things that I would love to see in terms of grade inflation and grading and what an A means and what it doesn't is along with proficiency-based grading, which is here's the 7th grade standard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are you meeting it, not meeting it? I'd love to see if there's, and dude, we live in a world of AI, we live in a world of data. I would love to be able to give a kid both an A for hitting that number 5 level of proficiency, but I'd love to be able to give a kid an A for growth. Meaning, in an age of AI, in an age of data, in an age of numbers, in an age of computing, if that kid's not at a 5, but their growth is just exceptional. You know, they were at a 1 and somehow or another they're hitting a 2, 2.5. And it's just like, whoa, you're going way above that grade level growth. I'd love to say that that is also what we could do to get rid of grade inflation is grade growth and grade proficiency simultaneously. So kids know, yeah, look, I'm at a 2, but I worked my ass off to get there. Well, that's like a B or A effort. And I think when it comes to grade inflation, we could talk all day about the fact that it gives a false sense of confidence. It's oftentimes given to either students of privilege because they're at a privileged school and parents are going to bitch, or like Doc very astutely said, hey, you're not like selling drugs in class. You're not selling drugs to the community. I declare war on anyone selling drugs to the community, and who is not selling drugs, you get an A. Shout out Chocolate Giddy Up. And that happens, dude. It's stone cold happens where it's just the illegitimacy of grading becomes a reflection on the personality of the child and not on the proficiency of the work. And that sucks. And that clearly isn't helping out anybody, inclusive of like what we're trying to do to get kids prepared for society.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Other thoughts?
That's my 2 cents on that shit. Do you want me to get the megaphone and start yelling at kids?
Yes. You have a good Joe Clark voice, so yes.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that Doc wants me to do, like some video rants. I really want to have the time to do that, but my first rant may just be with a megaphone yelling behind a child, being like, "Why are you out of uniform? At this school, we dress in uniform, young man. Your pants are down to your knees, and I will not have that shit." Sing the school
song. You smoke crack, don't you? David is the only adult here today. David, please answer, and then I will respond.
Yes, I will mute myself.
It's all good. Listen, sometimes we need it. Here's what I think on the grade inflation stuff again, and this is why. And I know David has made this point too about like some of those funds or to use for private school. But this is why I'm never upset at a parent that will take whatever type of voucher or what type of lottery or whatever to get their kid out of somewhere, because a lot more people go through this type of stuff than what we actually realize. And when this is an educator's child, this is somebody who knows how this works. This is somebody who has the language, and she's going through this with her child. What do you think that regular mom that just is that's a receptionist and working all day and is just trusting a school, right? Like, because she's assuming that they're doing what they're supposed to do. You parents have to become vigilant. And when I say ghetto school, I don't mean racially. I'm just saying ghetto in the sense of it has no standard. It has no systems. The principal is weak and is not principling about across the teachers. And it's okay. Not all principals are super teacher principals, but they usually hire somebody who's their instructional lead that's checking that stuff, right? Like there's nobody that has a modicum of quality control. And usually what these schools will say is, well, it's so violent in this area. It's so much poverty in this area, so much of this, and they over-index on discipline. And this is what you get. Because when one boat, the same way a high tide lifts all boats, so does a fucking dune. It drops everything, and that's what you're seeing. So I didn't give much in the way of advice on the topic per se, but it is an observation that I want the watchers and listeners to take with them, because you got to be involved. It is not a spectator sport lest you leave your child out there to fight by themselves. And are you a parent that's going to leave your child getting jumped by adults with degrees? Is that the type of parent you are? Are you not going to go up there because you don't understand, or you don't like the school, or you don't like that person? Don't abandon your kid in these systems, man.
These comments are really throwing me off today.
Today has been wild, yo.
Okay.
It has been a wild
Even
day.
said in the movie. They're gonna say it's like, you want to jump out this building, you want to continue smoking crack, you took your shirt in. It was like, this is confusing information. He ain't wrong about any of that.
My mom gave Charles a shout out. Dr. C, I say that to you.
Of course she did. Hey, Mama Juve, how you doing? How you doing? You know.
I mean, I think
love that
the grading,
It's awesome.
like weaponizing grades, to around like power dynamic issues is a significant problem. We talked about that. I think the flip side of that is inflation. And, we can have a whole show on grade inflation and the connection to like white guilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not just the color of your skin. You can still suffer from white guilt and not have white skin, right? Feeling sorry for the kids, right? And so passing them along, I think that's equally as harmful, because then you're sending children out into the world, with a resume and a transcript that does not reflect their actual true abilities, and that's why they end up in at a university and they're like, oh my God, I'm just not prepared for this. Well, wonder why,
Remedial everything. Absolutely.
Everything. I mean, in California, it was such a big deal in California that California, as a result of grade inflation, that California ended up totally getting rid of their remedial courses in our public systems. We have 3 of them: community college, CSU, and UC, because so many students were like testing into the remedial courses. So they're like, well, let's just get rid of the courses. Didn't solve the problem. But I see the article that you posted in the show notes, Jubilee, that Harvard put out a couple of years ago. But the saga continues. Harvard just put out a piece this month, like in the last couple of days. It's called Recentering Academics at Harvard, Update on Grading and Workload. And Harvard is doing a white paper on grading practices at Harvard.
Love that.
So this is like a
Can you drop that in our chat?
Yeah, I will. It's a current topic. Yep.
For sure. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, it's 6:59. I have 2 questions we ain't get to, and we ain't gonna.
How many questions did you plan for, Jubilee? Let me.
I planned for 4, but I didn't plan for Sid to join us, which was great. But I also this is just
when have we gotten through 4 questions, Jude?
I mean, listen, you got it. Better stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. Okay. So, like, I'm a teacher at heart. Okay, so you plan more questions than you have time to ask. So, but anyhow, I think let's whip around to final thoughts. I'm gonna go first, and I'm gonna let Omar take us out, right? But like, I just think this is such a rich and layered topic, and it goes back to philosophy. And it's twofold, right? I have my personal and professional philosophy around grades. And so I use that to push the thinking of my children's teachers, right? And I'm not asking for permission because I know at the end of the day, like what David said will always be true, that when these schools get these transcripts, all they are looking at is this average or this letter grade, and they're assuming that your child has whatever level of achievement or proficiency that letter grade represents, not realizing that there are other factors that were put into that average or that grade that have nothing to do with proficiency, right? So that's one, right? And my philosophy is it should be standards based. It should be about proficiency. It should be about what a child is mastering. And it should not only be this output, right? But it should also be a conversation with the students. We talk so much about students and grading, like about them, but not with them. Are they aware of all these conversations about their growth areas, their strengths, et cetera? Like as much conversation as we have about this, students should be a part of this. And then lastly, like, yes, I know the system is this big glob, this big conglomerate, but yes, it does begin with philosophy, right? Like I was culture shocked coming down here because New York was all I ever knew. So when I see a report card, I see standards on the report card. When I see averages, right, and the little subcategories underneath, it's telling me, okay, your child can add numbers 1 through 20. Check. 890, whatever it is, and it's all standards and broken down. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And then I feel empowered as a parent because I know, okay, well, you didn't do well on the subtraction. You're good with the addition, but the inverse you're not. Mommy got to work with you on that. So it empowers me as a parent, right? What I see down here, it's not. Right. So I will continue to use my voice to share that. I've been saying this since I was a teacher. We need portfolio-based, assessment. We need other ways to assess students, not just pencil paper, not just traditional assessments. How do we get students to express what they know, understand, and are able to do based on the standards, based on what we're saying they should know by the end of the course, by the end of the year, right? So I'm throwing it to you, David, Charles, and then Omar, you could take us out.
Oh gosh, I'm good. I mean, I think I put it all out there. I dropped the link to this Harvard study in the comments, so definitely check it out. And a great topic. I love having young people on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
I would say, well, one, that was great, David. I love the young man. The 20, I will send the 20 to you right after this Jubilee because I am so sick of you. You can't be on the show if this shit continues.
I stood on the ladder. I did the things I cannot figure out which one it is, and
it is driving me crazy, but it's okay. It's driving me crazy. I will say this though. One, what I do love that one of the teachers at this school did is made them write. Make their ass pull out some paper and a pen and write. Yes. I think I predict that stationary and handwritten letters will make a big comeback at some point because so many people can't write anymore. Can't even write cursive. So I like that he made them write. I think you all got the bigger message that you got to be in the game. You ain't got to have all the answers, but I think being present, being measured, saving your data, saving your evidence, and elevating that stuff. And if you get to a point where they just not listening, then you need to move. You need to not making that sound easy, but you need to move your kid out that school. It's not easy, but it's definitely easier than it was in the 80s and 90s to just move kids to a school. There's just different schools, there are just way more schools now than there were when we were younger. And I think that this conversation, I see all the comments about, making a guide, doing a follow-up. I'm down for all of that if people are actually going to utilize it. But I would just say this: all these schools got their own nuances, their own little things to them. You just can't be a spectator. And I think Jubilee bringing her son on and talking about these issues, it should be a warning to you all that your status in life does not matter. At times in some of these places, you got to be in the game. You truly do. And Mrs. and Jubilee's mom said hi to me, so I'm good there. So my day is made. Omar, saw you, brother.
Yeah, man. I think that you got this really interesting triad between someone talking about the fuzzies. I don't even know what the shit that is. Jubilee's mom giving it with a badass comments, And Bill, of course, we knew what the hell you were talking about when you mentioned the uniform and distracting away from important things. Yeah, man, give us a little bit of credit, man. We
I don't
love
know
you.
if he saw the
We love
movie.
you.
I think that, but yes, Bill, we got you. You're
Well,
good,
it's
brother.
a hell of a movie. You need to watch that shit. I have a practice at EPLA, and it's one that I think is a good microcosm to kind of wrap this up, which is students who are learning English will go home, do homework, which is watch 30 minutes of an English show in order to capitulate their English language acquisition, because 96% of our kids are learning English. And you need to come in with a summary of that. I am already of the supposition that they're going to come in with something written by AI. So what we do is we have them sit down in a group of four. They need to talk about it in English. Just like Doc and David were talking about someone having to write those things down, we are still human, and the component of accountability to one another and a teacher is part of the grading process. Grades were supposed to be part measurement of where a kid is at, part accountability, which is like you are accountable to this work, and we're demonstrating to your parents where you are at and to you where you are at. And those, I think, are the deep outlining factors of what grading should be. And this is why, you and Doc, Jubilee, said so eloquently, what the hell does an A even mean? I think that we need to start getting way back into what was the root of doing this? What is the new element of grading that is going to be both a point of showing a systemic way of a student's growth, their proficiency, and the accountability to the learning and to their parents, and figuring out a new system that demonstrates those things, because this system is so old. Like James Garfield and shit was like playing around with this system. And in that respect, I think it helps solve the dilemma of why are we even using grades in the first place, and how do we correct everything else beyond it? Those are my 2 cents on the subject. Talk to me next week for more rants involving Morgan Freeman, megaphones, Smalls, and the rest of the crew.
Code red, code red.
With that being said, y'all have a good one. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Next week, same bad time, same bad station. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.